Hey guys, I don't own the Epic of Gilgamesh, so here we go. We're gonna go pick it up. We're leaving. We're going. We're here. Who'd have thought there'd be this many people 3 days before Crimbus?
How are you doing today?
Good.
Awesome.
Books.
Yep.
Hungry. Food. Food got it. I'm back. And I'm back. What's up, everybody? So I know that I discovered with the last video with the whole Let's Read series that public domain was a thing. So I have acquired a few books. They are the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's enormous, so that'll be a long one. And Dracula. And actually, fun fact about Barnes & Noble, you guys' Dracula says in barely readable print and other horror stories. So I absolutely have no idea what these other horror stories are, or if they are public domain. But I double checked, and Dracula for sure is. And fun story, since it was written in the 1800s, Bram Stoker didn't get it protected himself, and it was protected in the UK for a time, but it was never officially protected in the US, and I believe it was in 1961 that it went under full public domain. So the other horror classics here are, there's Dracula, then The Jewel of Seven Stars, I don't know what that is. The Lair of the White Worms, don't know what that is either. Dracula's Guest and Other Stories, The Judge's House, The Squaw, The Secret of Growing Gold, The Gypsy Prophecy, The Coming of Abel Behanna, The Burial of Rats, The Dream of Red Hands, Cricket Sands, The Crystal Cup, The Chain of Destiny, The Duelists. So excellent, really fun, but don't know if those are going to be under public domain. And the one I'll be reading today, The Epic of Gilgamesh. And this is, I wish it could have been like the first of this series, and it is the official first, but it kind of makes sense to start off with the first hero. Like it says right here, Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, and his companion Enkidu are the greatest of the heroes to have survived from the ancient literature of Babylon, immortalized in this epic poem that dates back to the 3rd millennium BC. So it's one of our oldest stories. It's one of my personal favorites, and it's also quite short, so it's going to be a really good one to jump into. And speaking of that, how about we get into it? So we begin with the prologue, which is actually like half of this book is just introduction, acknowledgments, and contents. So, Gilgamesh, king in Uruk. I will proclaim to the world the deeds of Gilgamesh. This was the man to whom all things were known. This was the king who knew the countries of the world. He was wise. He saw mysteries and knew secret things. He brought us a tale of the days before the flood. He went on a long journey, was weary, worn out with labor. Returning, he rested. He engraved on a stone the whole story. When the gods created Gilgamesh, they gave him a perfect body. Shamash, the glorious sun, endowed him with beauty. Adad, the god of the storm, endowed him with courage. The great gods made his beauty perfect, surpassing all others, terrifying like a great and wild bull. 2/3 they made him god, and 1/3 man. I guess a bull has beauty in its own right, but it's not a creature I imagine like, oh, beautiful. The horns, the muscular shoulders. Anyways, I mean, I guess. He's supposed to be built. So, in Uruk he built walls, a great rampart, and the temple of blessed Iana, for the god of the firmament, Anu, and for Ishtar, the goddess of love. I believe she's also the goddess of magic. Babylonian gods kind of did whatever they wanted. Look at it still today. The outer wall where the cornice runs. It shines with the brilliance of copper, and the inner wall it has no equal. Touch the threshold, it is ancient. Approach Iana, the dwelling of Ishtar, Our Lady of Love and War, like the, war too, the like of which no latter-day king, no man alive, can equal. Climb upon the wall of Uruk. Walk along it, I say. Regard the foundation terrace and examine the masonry. Is it not burnt brick and good? The 7 sages laid the foundations. And now we get to the opening chapter, the coming of Enkidu. Gilgamesh went abroad in the world, but he met with none that could withstand his arms till he came to Uruk. But the men of Uruk muttered in their houses, Gilgamesh sounds the tocsin, Tocsin, for his amusement. I'll willingly admit I don't know what that is. His arrogance has no bounds by day or night. No son is left with his father, for Gilgamesh takes them all, even the children. Yet the king should be shepherd to his people. His lust leaves no virgin to their lover, neither the warrior's daughter nor wife to the noble. Yet this is the shepherd of the city, wise, comely, and resolute. The gods heard their lament. The gods of heaven cried to the Lord of Uruk, to Anu, the god of Uruk. A goddess made him strong, strong as a savage bull. None can withstand his arms. No son is left with his father, for Gilgamesh takes them all. And is the king the shepherd of his people? His lust leaves no virgin to their lover, neither the warrior's daughter nor the wife of the noble. When Anu heard their lamentation, the gods cried to Aruru, the goddess of creation. You made him, O Aruru, now create his equal. Let it be as like him in his own reflection, his second self, stormy heart for stormy heart. Let them contend together and leave Uruk in quiet. So the goddess conceived an image in her mind, and it was the stuff of Anu the firmament. She dipped her hands in water and pinched off clay. She let it fall in the wilderness, and noble Enkidu was created. There was a virtue in him of the god of war, of Ninurta herself. His body was rough. He had long hair like a woman's. Let's remember, everybody, 3000 BC. They didn't know that you can't assume gender. You can have long hair as a man. It waved like the hair of Nisaba, the goddess of corn. His body was covered with matted hair, like Samukhans, the god of cattle. He was innocent of mankind, and knew nothing of cultivated land. Enkidu ate grass in the hills with the gazelle, and lurked with wild beasts at the water holes. He had joy of the water with the herds of wild game. But there was a trapper who met him one day face to face at the drinking hole, for the wild game had entered his territory. On 3 days he met him face to face, and the trapper was frozen with fear. He went back to his home with the game that he had caught, and he was dumb benumbed with terror. His face was altered like that of one who had made a long journey. With awe in his heart, he spoke to his father. Father, there is a man unlike any other, who comes down from the hills. He is the strongest in the world. He is like an immortal from heaven. He ranges over the hills with wild beasts and eats grass. He ranges through your land and comes down to the wells. I am afraid and dare not go near him. He fills in the pits which I dig, and tears up my traps set for the game. He helps the beasts try to escape, and now they slip through my fingers. His father opened his mouth and said to the trapper, My son, in Uruk lives Gilgamesh. No one has ever prevailed against him. He is strong as a star from heaven. Go to Uruk, find Gilgamesh, extol the strength of this wild man. Ask him to give you a harlot, a wanton, from the Temple of Love. Return with her, and let her woman's power overpower this man. When next he comes down to drink at the wells, she will be there, stripped naked, and when he sees her beckoning, he will embrace her, and then the wild beasts will reject him. So the trapper set out on his journey to Uruk, and addressed himself to Gilgamesh, saying, A man unlike any other is roaming now in the pastures. He is as strong as a star from heaven, and I am afraid to approach him. He helps the wild game to escape. He fills in my pits and pulls up my traps. Gilgamesh said, Trapper, go back. Take with you a harlot, a child of pleasure. At the drinking hole she will strip, and when he sees her beckoning, he will embrace her, and the game of the wilderness will surely reject him. Now the trapper returned, taking the harlot with him. After a 3 days' journey, they came to the drinking hole, and there they sat down. The harlot and the trapper sat facing one another and waited for the game to come. For the first day and for the second, the two sat waiting, but on the third day the herds came. They came down to drink, and Enkidu was with them. The small wild creatures of the plains were glad of the water, and Enkidu with them, who ate grass with the gazelle, and was born in the hills. And she saw him, the savage man, come from far off in the hills. The trapper spoke to her, There he is. Now, woman, make your breast bare, leave no shame. Do not delay, but welcome his love. Let him see you naked. Let him possess your body. When he comes near, uncover yourself and lie with him. Teach him, the savage man, your woman's art. For when he murmurs love to you, the wild beasts that shared his life in the hills will reject him. She was not ashamed to take him. She made herself naked and welcomed his eagerness. As he lay on her, murmuring love, she taught him the woman's art. For 6 days and 7 nights they lay together, for Enkidu had forgotten his home in the hills. But when he was satisfied, he went back to the wild beasts. Did she walk away from that? But then, when the gazelle saw him, they bolted away. When the wild creatures saw him, they fled. Enkidu would have followed, but his body was bound as though by a cord. His knees gave way when he started to run. His swiftness was gone. And now the wild creatures had all fled away. Enkidu was grown weak. For wisdom, he hadn't eaten in damn near a week. Of course he grew weak. For wisdom was in him. Guess you can call it that. And the thoughts of man were in his heart. So he returned and sat down at the woman's feet and listened intently to what she said. You are wise, Enkidu. And now you have become like a god. Why do you want to run wild with the beasts in the hills? Come with me. I will take you to the strong walled Uruk, to the blessed temple of Ishtar, of Anu, of love in heaven. There Gilgamesh lives, who is very strong, and like a wild bull, he lords it over men. I should probably give her a more feminine voice. When she had spoken, Enkidu was pleased. He longed for a comrade, for one who would understand his heart. Now we gotta do Enkidu's voice. It's gotta be a little bit gravelly. Can I do gravelly? Let's see. Come, woman, and take me to that holy temple. I don't know, this is probably gonna Shrek my voice. To the house of Anu and of Ishtar, and to the place where Gilgamesh lords over the people. I will challenge him boldly. I will cry out aloud in Uruk. I am the strongest here. I have come to change the old order. I am he who was born in the hills. I am he who is strongest of all. She said, "Let us go, and let him see your face. I know very well where Gilgamesh is in Great Uruk. O Enkidu, there are all the people dressed in their gorgeous robes. Every day is a holiday. The young men and the girls are wonderful to see. How sweet they smell." This guy gotta smell like an animal. "All the great ones are roused from their beds. O Enkidu, you who love life, I will show you Gilgamesh, a man of many moods. You shall look at him well in his radiant manhood." Just there. "His body is perfect in strength and maturity. He never rests by day or night. He is stronger than you, so leave your boasting. Shamash, the glorious sun, has given favors to Gilgamesh, and Anu of the heavens, and Enlil, and Ea the wise, has given him deep understanding." Yet apparently he just is tyranting over these people. "I tell you, even before you have left the wilderness, Gilgamesh will know in his dreams you are coming." Now Gilgamesh got up to tell his dream to his mother, Ninsun, one of the wise gods. "Mother, last night I had a dream. I was full of joy. The young heroes were round me, and I walked through the night, under the stars of the firmament, and one, a meteor, the stuff of Anu, fell down from heaven. I tried to lift it, but it proved too heavy. All the people of Uruk came round to see it. The common people jostled, and the nobles thronged to kiss its feet. And to me, its attraction was like the love of a woman. They helped me. I braced my forehead, and I raised it with thongs, and brought it to you, and you yourself pronounced it my brother." Then Ninsun, who was well beloved and wise, said to Gilgamesh, I cannot do a goddess's voice, and I should not do a goddess's voice, and a Harlow's voice the same, but it's gonna happen. "This star of heaven which descended like a meteor from the sky, which you tried to lift but found too heavy. When you tried to move it, it would not budge, and so you brought it to my feet. I made it for you, a goad and spur, and you were drawn as though to a woman. This is the strong comrade, the one who brings help to his friend in his need. He is the strongest of wild creatures, the stuff of Anu. Born in the grasslands and in the wild hills, reared him. When you see him, you will be glad. You will love him as a woman." We're going to say this like 10 times until you understand that even in 3,000 years ago, we had, well, more than 3,000 years ago, we had tolerance that we somehow lost in the last couple hundred. "And he will never forsake you. This is the meaning of the dream." And Gilgamesh said, "Mother, I dreamed a second dream. In the streets of strong-walled Uruk there lay an axe. The shape of it was strange, and the people thronged around. I saw it and I was glad. I bent down, deeply drawn towards it. I loved it like a woman and wore it by my side." Ninsun answered, "That axe which you saw, which you drew so powerfully like the love of a woman, A lot of connotations. All has to be loving women. It's a strong emotion, I guess. That that is the comrade who I give to you, and he will come with his strength like one of the host of heaven. He is the brave companion who rescues his friend in necessity, Gilgamesh said to his mother. A friend, a counselor, has come to me from Enlil, and now I shall befriend and counsel him. So Gilgamesh told his dreams, and the harlot retold them to Enkidu. And now she said to Enkidu, in the same voice as the goddess, when I look at you, you have become like a god. Why do you yearn to run again with the wild beasts in the hills? Get up from the ground, the bed of a shepherd. He listened to her words with care. It was good advice that she gave. Straw isn't the greatest of beds, I guess. She divided her clothing in two, and with the one half she clothed them, and with the other herself. And holding his hand, she led him like a child to the sheepfolds. Folds, not sheepfolk. Sheepfolds. I lost my place. Where is it? Into the shepherd's tents. There we go. There all the shepherds crowded round to see him. They put down bread in front of him, but Enkidu could only suck the milk from wild animals. He fumbled and gaped, at a loss of what to do, or how he should eat the bread, and drink the strong wine. Then the woman said, Enkidu, eat bread. It is the staff of life? Staff? Thought it was stuff. Typo? Drink the wine. It is the custom of the land. I think I forgot the voice. So he ate till he was full and drank strong wine, 7 goblets. He became merry. His heart exulted, and his face shone. He rubbed down the matted hair of his body and anointed himself with oil. Enkidu had become a man. But when he put on man's clothing, he appeared like a bridegroom. He took arms to hunt the lion, so the shepherds could rest at night. He caught wolves and lions, and the herdsmen lay down in peace, for Enkidu was their watchman, that strong man who had no rival. He was merry living with the shepherds, till one day, lifting his eyes, he saw a man approaching. He said to the harlot, let's see if I can do it again. Woman, fetch that man here. Why has he come? I wish to know his name. She went and called the man, saying, Sir, where are you going on this weary journey? The man answered, saying to Enkidu, Gilgamesh has gone into the marriage house and shut out the people. He does strange things in Uruk, the city of great streets. At the roll of the drum, work begins for the men, and work for the women. Gilgamesh, the king, is about to celebrate the marriage with the Queen of Love, and he still demands to be the first with the bride, prima nocta. The king to be the first of and the husband to follow. For what was ordained by the gods from his birth, from the time the umbilical cord was cut. But now the drums roll for the choice of the bride, and the city groans. At these words, Enkidu turned white in the face. I will go to the place where Gilgamesh lords it over the people. I will challenge him boldly, and I will cry aloud in Uruk. I have come to change the old order, for I am the strongest here. Now Enkidu strode in front of the woman, and the woman followed behind. He entered Uruk, the great market, and all the folk thronged round him, where he stood in the street, in strong-walled Uruk. The people jostled him. Speaking of him, they said, He is the spit of Gilgamesh. He is shorter. He is bigger of bone. This is the one who was reared on the milk of wild beasts. His is the greatest strength. The men rejoiced. Now Gilgamesh has met his match. This great one, this hero whose beauty is like a god, he is a match even for Gilgamesh. In Uruk, the bridal bed was made, fit for the goddess of love. The bride waited for the bridegroom. But in the night Gilgamesh got up and came to the house. Then Enkidu stepped out. He stood in the street and blocked the way. Mighty Gilgamesh came on, and Enkidu met him at the gate. He put his foot out to prevented Gilgamesh from entering the house. So they grappled, holding each other like bulls. They broke the doorposts, and the walls shook. They snorted like bulls and locked together. They shattered the doorposts, and the walls shook. Gilgamesh bent his knee with his foot planted on the ground, and with a turn Enkidu was thrown. Then immediately his fury died. When Enkidu was thrown, he said to Gilgamesh, "There is not another like you in the world. Ninsen, who is as strong as a wild ox in the briar. She was the mother who bore you, and now you are raised above all men. And Enlil has given you the kingship, for your strength surpasses the strength of men." So Enkidu and Gilgamesh embraced, and their friendship was sealed. Next is chapter 2, and that is enough for this part. So we've got a lot of symbolism in this, obviously, and some things not even to be taken far from literal. Obviously, in these days, strength, just pure physical size and strength was obviously treasured above all, and even if you were intelligent, one can kind of surmise that you needed to enforce your rule. And I don't think forms of government were really huge in the Babylonian days, where you would have like a consul that has a militia to answer to. So realistically, especially when you have people believing you're part god, you can ascertain rule pretty easily. Now, the thing is that we have no proof of Gilgamesh's existence, I believe. I believe even Uruk as a kingdom isn't proven to have exist. So, but, you know, given the setting, it seems like it speaks of a time, even though you can probably mark it as fiction, as you can with a lot of these older stories, including the Odyssey and the Iliad. You do learn a lot about the people of the time, which is why a lot of these stories used to be told in schools, and a lot of them have different lessons, and you can certainly interpret them in many different ways, such as how I drew the conclusion that strength seems to be the one rule. And I find it kind of funny that they praise Gilgamesh's greatness, but at the same time basically need to send someone just as great to basically distract him, because otherwise he was tyranting over people. And if some of you are asking why this is one of my favorite stories, you'd be right to ask that, because as you all will come to learn as you get to know me, tyranny is something I'm very, very, very strongly against, even though I enjoy monarchy in a certain fashion. Not monarchy as in it's a birthright so much to rule, as a plutocracy where a king earns his way through merit, which is actually present in here, just what was done with it